In March of 2025, a boxer walked into Barclays Center as a massive underdog and did something almost nobody thought was possible. He went 12 full rounds with one of the most feared knockout artists on the planet, outlanded him, hurt him, maybe even beat him, and the judges called it a draw. Now here's the part that should really bother you. Emphasis. Most boxing insiders, most fighters, even commentators who had nothing to gain either way, looked at that fight and said the same thing. He actually won. So what happened to that fighter? The one who nearly pulled off the upset of the decade? He should have gotten his rematch immediately. He should have become a household name overnight. Instead, he almost vanished. This is the story of Lamont Roach Jr., a kid from Washington, D.C., who lost to that same knockout artist twice as a teenager in the amateurs, who spent years quietly building himself into a two-division world champion, who finally got his shot at redemption on the biggest stage of his life, and who then watched the boxing world move on without him, like that night never even happened. Stick around, because by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why Lamont Roach is about to get the moment he's been chasing his entire life, and why so many people forgot he was still out there. The boy who followed his cousin to the gym. Let's rewind all the way back to Washington, D.C., the early 2000s. A 9-year-old kid named Lamont Roach Jr. tags along with his father and his cousin Jermaine to a local boxing gym called No Excuse Boxing Club out in Capitol Heights, Maryland. He wasn't there because he had some big dream of becoming a champion. He was just a kid, tagging along, curious. He hits the punching bag for the first time, and something clicks. His father, Lamont Roach Sr., had boxed himself. His uncle, Bernard, everybody called him Boogaloo, was a trainer. So this wasn't some random hobby he stumbled into. This was a family business, in a sense. Boxing ran in his blood. By the time he hit middle school, he was in that gym 5 days a week. He'd been playing football too, like a lot of kids his age. But once high school came around, he made his choice. Football was out. Boxing was everything. And here's the thing, he wasn't just good, he was exceptional. His amateur career ended up being one of the most decorated in the entire DC area, a record of 125 wins and only 15 losses. 2 junior national Golden Gloves titles, a national PAL championship, 5 ringside world championships. In 2013, he became the USA Boxing Youth National Champion and even picked up a bronze medal overseas in Ukraine. By any measure, this was a kid built for greatness. The 2 losses that would haunt his future. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody could have scripted. Out of those 15 amateur losses on his record, 2 of them came against the exact same fighter, a kid from Baltimore, just as hungry, just as talented. His name was Gervonta Davis. Think about that for a second. 2 teenagers growing up less than an hour apart from cities with a real old-school rivalry, DC versus Baltimore. And in the amateur ranks, before either of them had a dollar to their name, before either of them had a world title, Davis beat Roach twice. Now, most of the time in boxing, amateur results get forgotten the second fighters turn pro. Nobody remembers who beat who as 16-year-olds. But when you're talking about 2 fighters from rival cities who both go on to become world champions, those losses don't just disappear. They sit there, quietly, waiting. Roach turned pro in 2014, signing with Golden Boy Promotions, with his father managing him in those early years. And while Gervonta Davis's career exploded almost immediately, highlight reel knockouts, pay-per-view main events, a nickname, Tank, that the entire boxing world knew, Lamont Roach's career took a much quieter path. He was winning, consistently, but he wasn't a star, not yet. The first heartbreak. In 2019, Roach got his first real crack at a world title, challenging Jamel Herring for the WBO super featherweight title. He lost. Now here's something people don't talk about enough when it comes to boxing careers. A loss like that, in your first world title opportunity, can end careers. It can break a fighter's confidence permanently. Some guys never fully recover from that first big stage failure. Roach didn't quit. He didn't demand an easy path back. He went right back to work, fight after fight, slowly rebuilding. And in November 2023, 4 years after that first heartbreak, he got his second world title opportunity against Hector Luis Garcia for the vacant WBA super featherweight title. This time, in the 11th round, he rocked Garcia. In the 12th, he dropped him with a left hook. Split decision. Lamont Roach Jr. was a world champion. Think about the weight of that moment for a kid from DC. He became the first fighter from his hometown to win a world title since 2012, over a decade. His entire community had been waiting for someone like him, but this story wasn't close to finished, because there was still unfinished business from those 2 amateur losses. All those years ago, the fight everyone underestimated, March 1st, 2025, Barclays Center, Brooklyn. And for the first time as professionals, Lamont Roach Jr. finally gets his shot at Gervonta Tank Davis. Not just a grudge match, this was for Davis's WBA lightweight world title, real stakes, real glory, and almost nobody outside of D.C. gave Roach a real chance. Davis walked into that fight 30-0, 28 of those wins by knockout. He was, at that point, arguably the most must-see knockout artist in the entire sport. He had just come off dismantling Ryan Garcia the year before. This was supposed to be a showcase, a highlight reel, Tank doing what Tank does. Instead, Lamont Roach Jr. did something that shocked the entire boxing world. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He pressed forward, round after round, matching Davis's power, using his jab exactly the way analysts said he'd need to. And by the midpoint of the fight, this wasn't a showcase anymore. This was a genuine, competitive, 12-round war. The moment that should have changed everything came round 9. Out of nowhere, with no punch landing on him, Gervonta Davis took a knee in the middle of the ring, just dropped down on his own, then walked over toward his corner, where his face was wiped down with a towel. Here's what should have happened, according to almost every rule of boxing. If a fighter voluntarily takes a knee like that without being hit, the referee is supposed to call it exactly what it is: a knockdown. The referee didn't call it. Davis went on to win that round on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards anyway. After the fight, Davis said the reason he dropped was hair grease, burning his eyes from sweat. Whatever the explanation, the outcome stayed the same. No knockdown was scored. And when the final bell rang and the scorecards were read, it was ruled a majority draw. One judge had it 115-113 for Davis. The other 2 had it dead even, 114-114. Lamont Roach Jr. had just outlanded Gervonta Davis in total punches thrown. He'd landed the single hardest shot of the fight. He had done, by almost every account, enough to become a 2-division world champion and hand Tank Davis the first true loss of his career. Instead, the record books say draw. Terence Crawford, one of the most respected fighters in the entire sport, publicly said Roach got robbed. Fans flooded social media. Roach's own team sent a formal letter to the New York State Athletic Commission, alleging Davis brought an illegal irritant into the fight and demanding the result be overturned. None of it changed the official outcome. The silence that followed. Here's where most redemption stories in boxing would give you the happy ending. The rematch clause, the immediate do-over. Roach gets his moment to finally settle it in front of the whole world. But what happened next shocked everyone who thought justice was coming. Davis publicly stated his very next fight would not be a rematch with Roach. Weeks turned into months. The controversy that had every boxing analyst in the country talking slowly faded from the headlines. Davis moved on to other things, including, eventually, a highly publicized crossover fight against Jake Paul, of all people, a move that stung Roach and his supporters even more. Think about how that must have felt. You step into the ring against a legend, coming off 2 amateur losses to that exact same man. You fight the performance of your life. The entire sport agrees you deserve to win. And then, the door just closes. No rematch, no vindication, just silence. For a while, it genuinely felt like Lamont Roach Jr. had done everything right, at the exact right moment, in the biggest fight of his career, and it still wasn't going to be enough to get him what he'd earned. He didn't disappear because he got worse. He didn't disappear because he stopped training. He disappeared because the biggest opportunity of his career, the one every fighter dreams of, got taken away from him by a scorecard and a business decision that had nothing to do with what actually happened in that ring. The quiet comeback. But here's what makes this story worth telling. Lamont Roach Jr. has been here before. Remember, this is a fighter who lost his very first world title attempt back in 2019, and instead of disappearing, spent 4 years quietly rebuilding until he became champion. So when the Davis rematch never came, he did the only thing he's ever known how to do. He kept working. While the spotlight moved elsewhere, Roach stayed sharp, stayed active, stayed ready. And in 2026, an opportunity opened up that nobody expected: a shot at the vacant WBC Lightweight World Championship against a fighter with a reputation just as fearsome as Davis's in a completely different way. William Zepeda, a relentless, high-volume Mexican pressure fighter that almost nobody in the division wants to face. Think about the poetry in that matchup. Roach isn't chasing an easy path back into the spotlight. He's not fighting a name past his prime to rebuild his profile. He's walking straight into a fight against one of the most dangerous, high-output fighters in the entire sport for a real, undisputed level world title. Why this moment matters more than people realize. Here's the twist in this story that so many casual fans miss entirely. Everyone remembers Lamont Roach Jr. for one night, the controversial draw with Tank Davis. But that single fight isn't actually the story. It's just the moment the world finally noticed him. The real story is a kid who lost twice to the same rival as a teenager, who suffered a heartbreaking loss in his first world title shot, who came back 4 years later and actually became a world champion, who then delivered arguably the best performance of his life against one of the most avoided knockout punchers on the planet, only to watch the reward for that performance quietly slip away. And instead of letting that bitterness define him, instead of fading into obscurity or chasing easy paydays, he's putting himself right back in the fire against another fighter nobody wants to face. That's not the story of a man who got lucky for one night. That's the story of a man whose entire career has been built on getting knocked down, sometimes literally, sometimes by circumstances completely outside his control, and getting back up every single time without exception. What comes next if Lamont Roach Jr. beats William Zepeda for that WBC lightweight world title? He doesn't just become a two-division world champion. He finally, officially, gets to close the door on a chapter that never should have been left open in the first place. He proves that the version of him the world saw that night against Tank Davis wasn't a fluke. It was who he's always been, a fighter who was never given the easy road. From that boxing gym in Capitol Heights when he was 9 years old, all the way to Barclays Center, and now to whatever comes next. Whether the boxing world remembers that controversial draw as a robbery or a coin flip, one thing about Lamont Roach Jr. has never actually been in question: emphasis. He shows up every single time, whether the world is watching or whether it's moved on to the next big thing. That's a harder thing to do than winning any single fight. And it might be the reason that sooner or later, this is a story with a champion's ending. If this story hit you the way it hit me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because there are so many more fighters out there with journeys just like this one, waiting to finally get their due. And if you think Lamont Roach Jr. finally gets the moment he deserves, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.